Welcome back to a brand new episode of To Whom It May Concerns Hood Professionals. As usual, I am your host, AP, and happy New Year. Yay! I am so excited because this month we have a special guest. She is a finance and business coach, and she goes by the name of Miss Tara Lewis. Everyone, welcome Tara to the podcast. Hi, Tara. How are you?
I'm well. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I am It's a pleasure. Thank you for even accepting the invitation to come on to the podcast. We're always happy to have guests here because it can get a little lonely with just me doing all the talking, and I feel a little crazy talking to myself, but it's nice to be able to have a conversation with somebody else in real time.
Right.
So, Tar, I know that I introduced you as a finance and business coach. Tell me a little bit about your consulting business and how you came about starting it off.
The name is TML Credit Consulting. It's a credit repair financial consulting business. We specialize in personal credit repair, personal credit establishment, as well as business credit also, as well as financial literacy from as basic as budgeting, saving, on up to IRA investments, so forth and so on. It's been on paper since 2019, and I actually brought it about during COVID. I worked for Baptist for 5 years as a financial assistance coordinator there. So I've always been in finances, in healthcare, but also in finances. So when we came home for COVID, I had extra time on my hands, and actually an ex of mine, he's an entrepreneur as well. And he was like, you could be getting paid to do what you do for people personally. And so I started doing it for people professionally. Well, I got the LLC, got it all on paper, the EIN, LLC, and I started doing consultations for people. And I saw the pay, I saw the results, and I was like, okay, this is really life-changing, because who doesn't need financial literacy? Who doesn't need financial freedom? Who doesn't need good credit, be it personal or business credit? So that's how it started. And within a year, I was able to pay my house off. And in about 2 years, I was able to leave the corporate world, which was Baptist Hospital, and start doing it as my sole, entrepreneurship job. So it surprised me during COVID that it spiked like it did, because you would think during COVID, a lot of people, everything was cut back. The world was kind of put on hold. Not a lot of people had finances. So I was thinking, well, it's really not going to do much during COVID, because, we're all financially strapped. Total opposite. I think everyone realized, hey, the world has stopped. So many people lost their jobs. So many jobs cut back on hours. And people realized, I don't have anything to fall back on, be it finances, from saving, this emergency fund, or credit. And so business really spiked then, and it just took off from there. And here I am today.
Excellent. So what would you say inspired you to really start this journey? I know you said that there was someone who mentioned to you, like, hey, this is something that you could really take from what you do to your 9 to 5 and transfer it over into something that's solely you're the head, you're the boss. But what was that moment that you were like, wait a minute, I think I got something here?
That started long ago. I come from very humble beginnings. No mom. Dad was there, but kind of shift around from place to place. So I come from very humble beginnings, rough, kind of just struggle growing up. I had my first child at 16, and it just went from there. But I made a vow. I probably was 11 or 12. And like I said, we grew up very rough. And I remember telling myself, I'm not going to struggle like this when I get grown. And so it's literally, like I'll tell anybody, this profession, this business, it came from preparation and prevention. I knew early on I didn't want to struggle financially. So I pretty much just had this business savvy. I know that's where I got it from, but as far as mastering it, I did it along the way. And I kind of stumbled upon credit just when I turned 18. I went to a jewelry store and I got some jewelry, and they gave it to me on credit. And I didn't grasp credit back then, but I got that, hey, you can walk in and you can get something. And if you make this monthly payment on time, they'll give you a bigger amount to get more stuff. And I literally started building my own credit from there. And I've always been financially frugal because, like I said, I come from humble beginnings, so I'm not used to spending a lot of money anyway. So
Mhm.
that pretty much laid the pattern to say, hey, this is how you live comfortable. You know what I'm saying? This is how you
Mhm.
make sure your family is taken care of. And I just mastered it. And so family and friends would always just ask financial advice. And, I give it, I'd help anybody do anything they needed to do. And like I said, as I got older, I was kind of like, okay, a lot of people need this, but I never really addressed becoming an entrepreneur until I was dating one and I saw his drive and I really saw the freedom you have when you're an
Mhm.
entrepreneur. And I would always hear people say it's not about the money, it's about the freedom. And when I didn't have that money or that business or that freedom, I was like, no, it's about the money. I want money, money, money. But now that I have the freedom, I'm like, I get it. It really is about the freedom. So it was just humble beginnings for me as a child, and it, you know, fruitioned into this, and here I am. And I enjoy it. It changes a lot of lives. We as a black, race, we weren't taught financial literacy. We weren't taught credit. We were just taught pay cash for everything. Never get a credit card. If you get one, cut it up, pay it off. Never to have credit. And it's the total opposite. You live so well off of credit because all debt isn't bad debt.
Mhm.
So very life changing. I enjoy it when people, my clients tag me, or testimonials when they write me, hey, I closed on my house today. Hey, I got a new car. Hey, I was approved for a credit card. I've never been approved for a credit card a day in my life. So my goal is to always educate my clients so that they can pass it down to their children and their family for generational wealth.
So, with you saying that this was something that your family and friends would come to you just to get advice because they knew that this was a background that, or a subject matter that you were somewhat of an expert in, did you find it hard? Because sometimes we see those scenarios where we're good in something, but when we get ready to transfer it or to parlay into trying to make money off of our gift or off of our knowledge that we have, sometimes we find it difficult for others to want to invest and actually pay for our knowledge. Did you have that difficulty, or was it somewhat a little easier for you to make that transition?
For family and friends or professionally?
I would say family and friends first.
Not really, because I can honestly say the few people, excuse me, that I did help, they were like, I'll pay you if you need me to pay you. I'm a very stern person. I'm brutally honest. So I think my friends and family kind of know, hey, we can't get over on her. So nobody
Right.
really tried. I can honestly say that. And not many of my friends and family needed it.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing, and I'm not, well, let me take that back. I'm not going to say they didn't need it. A lot didn't follow through. So me being the person I am, like I said, I'm very stern. It's like, hey, if I'm giving you this advice and you don't want to take it and apply it, don't worry about it. It won't happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
really a hard transition for me because I'm just, I'm stern like that. Like, hey, if I'm trying to give you something and you don't apply it, that's it. So no, it wasn't hard.
Okay.
Now, getting my clients to pay for it, I won't say it was hard, but I'll say about 35% of clients, once they'll contact me or they'll get on my
Mm-hmm.
website. And once they get the details, they go ghost once you see a price. But I've learned that people pay for what they want. And if
Mm.
you want it, you'll make a way. If you don't, you'll make excuses. And it's not something that's wanted, it's needed. So if
Mm-hmm.
I can't convince you to invest in yourself for your financial literacy, your financial gain, your financial freedom to live a comfortable life and have this, American dream that comes along with financial freedom, you really aren't my client anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
My ideal client. So a lot of people, once they see the price, they go ghost, and it's okay. The people,
Mm-hmm.
my clientele does come to me, and I work just as hard for everybody the same. But yeah, once you give a price out, a lot of people get lost.
So then let me ask you this, because y- y- part of your title is you call yourself a coach, a
Hmm.
financial and business coach. So, what would you say is like a first tier entryway into the TML consulting program?
A consultation.
Okay.
So a client will either contact me or they'll get on the website and they'll book a consultation, be it personal credit or business credit. And with that consultation with the personal, we pretty much pull that client's credit report, their FICO scores, because you never want to use Vantage scores. It's a difference in the two reporting scores. Not many lenders use Vantage scores, they use FICO. So we'll do a thorough rundown of their whole credit report, everything on it, be it from their name, their address, their employment, onto their scores, onto any accounts that are on there, any inaccuracies. We pretty much just comb through it, and I give them a strategy to say, hey, this is how we're going to repair it. And I also educate my clients moving forward so they know how to keep it repaired, keep it in good standing, and don't hopefully have to come back to me. Because it's one thing for me to say, hey, we're going to clean it up and remove it, you know what I'm saying, and give you a new start. But if you don't know what to do with that new start, it kind of defeats the purpose. And I can honestly say, in dealing with my clients that I've dealt with, most people get the most out of those consultations because I'm the type of person, I don't talk over your head. I break it down to where you can understand, but I also don't make a person feel bad about the situation. Because probably 90% of my clients are like, I'm so embarrassed. And I'm like, well, no, it's nothing to be embarrassed about if you don't know. The embarrassment comes when you know and you don't do anything about it. So the first step would be that consultation answers, if not 90% of whatever questions, concerns has.
Okay, because when I think about that, it's private. Even when you with just money as a whole, it's just one of those things that people really hold close to them. It's almost like when you playing a card game, and if you wear glasses, you don't want somebody looking into your glasses being able to see your hand. How do you gain that level of trust? How do you confidently navigate your clients into investing in your program, that they're opening up this sector of their life to really let you see exactly how they're living?
Right. So my social media, it has been, even long before I started the credit repair business professionally, I've literally for years, I'm just the type of person, I like to educate and I like to motivate. Like I said, I come from nothing, so I know how it feels to not have and to feel like, hey, I can't get there. So I'm this example that, yes, you can get there. So for years, I've always posted my scores. I've always dropped credit jewels. People ask questions, I answer the questions. I'm so transparent with my life, my struggles, in every aspect of my life. And I'm not going to say I know for a fact it's because I'm relatable and I'm transparent, and I know how to turn it off and on naturally. I know how to be professional, but I also know how to be relatable to people who aren't on a level I'm on or other people are on. So they don't feel less than, and they're like, okay, I feel comfortable talking to you. And 95% of my clientele is word of mouth from someone, from a client. And they're like, hey, such and such referred me. They told me you're the best. They told me you're real brutally honest, but you're down to earth. You'll get me right. You'll tell me what I need to know. So it was literally my transparency and me being able to walk that walk, because for me to say, hey, I do this is one thing, but for me to show I do this is another. So I literally have posted my scores for years. I posted, my credit card debt. I posted my finances, not too much personal, but just enough. And this was long before I even thought about a business. So little did I know I was setting that tone and planting a seed for people to say, okay, I know she knows what she's talking about. She's relatable on her page. She's funny, she's motivating. I never post negative stuff on my page. So it kind of just made people, draw to me like, okay, she's a real one. She's cool. I feel comfortable talking to her. So
and I'm glad that
Right.
And I'm glad that you brought up your social media, because I noticed that you post financial tips, like you give out regarding credit cards. And what would you say is the number one thing to keep in mind when you're applying for a credit card?
To know your score, because 650 is the sweet spot. I'll tell anybody, until you get to 650 across the board with your FICO scores, you're going to get a lot of denials. A lot of people think it's just about the score. It's not just about the score, it's about a strong credit profile. So until you get a strong credit profile and those scores of 650 across the board, you really don't want to apply for cards, because all you're going to get is denials and hard inquiries. And hard inquiries drop your score constantly. So credit cards are good despite what some people think, because like I tell everybody, we don't get a credit score or credit report acknowledgement for cash or debit transactions. If we did, everyone would have an 850 score. We don't. So my motto with anyone, and even my 16-year-old son, he knows it. He just asked me one day, well, he was like 14 then. He's like, Mom, what does credit first, cash last mean? I'm like, credit first, cash last. So everything everybody does with their cash, I do with credit first. And then I just take my cash and I pay it right back off. So I'm not doing anything extra. I'm not in any more debt than anybody. I'm just getting credit for it. So don't run and apply for a lot of cards. That's the first thing I tell my clients until you get to this score. And that's all discussed in that consultation. Like I said, I tell them 60% of this process is you applying the lesson. 40% is me working with you to clean it up. But 60%, the majority, is what you're going to start doing and continue doing when you're done with me. And that really, I think, is what gets people, because they're like, I never knew that. Thank you for teaching me that. And a lot of my clients, some are young, but truth be told, most are past their 30s and they have kids. So me educating them allows them to pass it down to their children. So it's kind of like a win-win that, hey, we're getting your score and your reports up, but I'm also educating you. And now you educate your children, your family.
Excellent. I would definitely say that I remember at one point in time where I went through a credit repair service, because I was just at a point where I was like, I'm a type of person, I like to do research. I'm going to read, because I like to be up on things. But for me, when it comes to numbers and math, you can ask me a math question and my brain literally is like southeast, turn red, go backward, sit down on the haystack. That's literally what my brain says when you give me a math equation.
Oh, I'm out.
Right. And so I had some people being like, why do you want to go to a credit bureau service? That's a scam. That's a scam. You can do this stuff yourself. And I'm just like, well, if I don't know where to start or what to do or what language to use in trying to reach out, or if I don't necessarily have the time and a game plan for attacking it, what is so wrong with me reaching out to someone who has that expertise? So what do you have to say about those who have looked at a possible credit repair consultant, but have not, pressed the button merely because of the things that they've heard and the myths attached to this particular subject?
Right. I get it. And like I tell people, it would kind of be like me saying, hey, I'm going to do a podcast. And people, you can do it yourself. And I'm like, well, where do I start? What do I do? What are the tips? What are the rules? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Kind of like me saying, hey, I'm sick. Oh, you can take care of yourself. To a certain point, at some point, I need to go to the doctor. So I see it quite often, on my social media where people say, and I see it because people tag me in the post, they mention my name. But along that post, they're like, well, who's a good credit repair specialist? And a lot of people tag me, and I constantly post that also. Because people want to know the person is legit. They want to know what they're paying for. Well, on some of those posts, I see people say, you can do it yourself. And like you said, you can do it yourself if you know what you're doing. You can do it yourself if you have the time, because you're going to go back and forth with the bureaus. You can do it yourself if you know the language. If you know the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which is over 700 pages. If you know the laws, you can do it. If you know who to send what, if you know when to send a verification letter, you know when to send a factual letter. If you know all of this, you can do it. 99% of the time, no one knows all of that. Most people I see, get self-lender, that'll fix it. That's not fixing it. That's helping it, but it's not fixing it. So It's just the expertise and the knowledge of someone saying, hey, I'm interested in this, but I don't know what I'm doing and I want the best results. So I'm going to invest in someone who does know it, who's shown proof. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of my clients, it's very rare, some are anonymous, but for the majority of my clients, let me post their results. They tag me in testimonials so people know, okay, she is legit. And I get it. A lot of scammers are out there. So, when people are leery, a girl literally wrote me today and she was like, I've used about 6 credit, repair companies and they've all scammed me and this and that. And my response is the same with everybody. I understand. I understand being hesitant and not wanting to give your money. That's why I do the consultation. Usually when I talk to a person on the consultation and I not only break down, I don't just say, hey, I'm going to fix this. I say, hey, this is what's on your report. This is what's wrong, right? This is what you're doing wrong. This is what needs to be corrected. This is what I can do. This is what you can do. I never just tell a person, hey, I can fix it. I'll just pay me. No, I'm going to tell you what you can do on your end, what I can do on my end. And this disclaimer is given to everyone. I am not a magician. I am going to tell you what I honestly feel like can get you result-wise because number one, it's my face card. And we know how bad news travels. Number two, I'm just that type of person. I'm not going to take anyone's money and time and waste it. I don't do it. I don't pay people to waste mine. I don't want anybody to pay me to waste theirs. So I'm very transparent in their expectations of me and what they can expect. And I even go so far, if I feel they can do it on their own, I tell them that. If I feel like they can get my ebook and do it themselves from my do-it-yourself ebook, hey, this is pretty cut and dry. You can do this on your own. And I do that because, yes, I miss out on money, but 99% of the time, they're going to tell the next person, hey, she was honest. She was straight up. She was transparent. She told me this. She told me that. I learned this. I learned that. She didn't try to get over. She's not just trying to sell money. I mentioned the price at the end of that consultation only if they want me to repair it. I said, before I give you this rundown, do you feel like you want to repair it now? If so, do you feel like it's something you want to attempt, or would you like me to do it? And most people, like you said, I don't have the time. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not going to follow through. So they pay me to do it. And there's some people that are very, just sticklers, and they follow through and they do it themselves. And that's fine.
Okay. Well, it's nice to know there's a nice mixture around that because right. Again, like I said, for me, my brain does it goes in a whole totally different direction.
And I'm like, now that I'll say it's probably 15% that say they'll do it. 85% they're like, no, we see, I know your results. I know you, I trust you. You got it. And then out of that 15%, I'll say maybe 7 or 8 come back like, hey, I tried, it didn't work. I don't have the time. But, I always put it out there because I don't want people just thinking, hey, I'm trying to sell you something. Hey, I'm trying to sell you something. Because I'm only one person. It's literally just me. Nobody else works with me or for me. I don't want my name tarnished. I know I'm going to do it right, so I choose to do it myself. So it's just me. You know what I'm saying? And I work as thoroughly as I can. But yeah, it's a big stigma around credit repair because a lot of people do scam. So I get it. But in that consultation, it's pretty much where the person is really going to grasp it's not a scam. She knows her stuff. You know what I'm saying? She's legit. I learned something because my question before we hang up is, what did you get from the consultation? Do you feel like you know a little bit more than you did before we got on the call? You're not going to know everything, but you're going to know a little bit more. Do you understand cut and dry what's on here and what strategy we need to take to repair it? And if they say, yeah, then my job is done. And I always ask people, does that make sense? The way I worded that, does it make sense? Because it's kind of like you talking to me about a podcast. Some terminology I'm not going to understand. So I'm like, hey, layman's term, break that down for me. So I always ask people, does that make sense? The way I worded it is not calling you dumb. It's just saying, does it make sense to you? Right. Because a lot of people won't speak up and say, hey, I don't get that. Or, hey, you're talking too fast. Hey, run it back. A lot of people just sit there because they're embarrassed. And I'm not. I'm like, hey, I don't understand that. Can you run that back, please? And I do that because that's
Especially,
their money. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
That's what they're
I was
paying
about to say
for.
that, especially when I'm paying for a service, I feel
And
like
that's what I'm saying. That's their
there is
money
no
and that's what
stupid
they're paying
question.
for.
There is no
Right.
stupid question when I'm paying for a service. Like,
Right.
talk to me like
So
I'm
I can
three.
honestly say that consultation, that first step, is what locks my clients in, as opposed to me saying, "Send me your login, I'll send the price." And they're like,
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying? If a person didn't, I'm like, well, that doesn't teach me anything. So yeah, I'm gonna move on. So yeah,
Right, because I think it's important that although you are doing a service for someone, especially when it comes to finances, I think it's more so about you being able to inspire and encourage others to become more financially aware,
right,
a little bit more. And I would say financially intelligent about what it is that they're doing. So this is again information that they can practice and also pass down if they have children, or maybe they
right,
have nieces, nephews, or their siblings or cousins or friends or whoever. And it's like a little information that you can impart on them. And it's like, okay, well, how
right,
did you become so knowledgeable? Because this wasn't a conversation that we would have normally. And
right.
me being the one, like mostly amongst my friends, most of my friends make really nice money.
Mm-hmm.
And when I always felt like in order for me to even think about credit, I had to be in a certain income range.
And you don't.
And see, but I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that's some of the things
That's the
that a lot of us
stigma.
look at.
Right.
Like when you talk about credit first, cash last,
Mm-hmm.
like I know people who all they use is their credit card to pay things. And then when the bill comes in, that's when they go in, that's the only time they're using
Cash.
their paychecks,
That's
yeah,
it.
their paychecks,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, to pay the bill. But everything else
Right.
is based on it's off the credit card. But
Mm-hmm.
here's my question is, don't I then have to be in a certain income range for me to be able to participate in that type of lifestyle?
Well, the thing about it, if you think about it, you're in that range anyway. And well, if you use just, and we're just gonna say this common sense, that you like,
Mm-hmm.
even with cash, if you make 3,000 a month, regardless of whether you swipe a card or you use your paycheck, you can't go past that 3,000. So
Mm-hmm.
you do have to be financially responsible to say, hey, I'm not going to go and max this card out because I know I don't have it to replace it. Or, you know what I'm saying, to pay it back. But you don't, you know, when we think credit, well, probably not now, but, when we were younger or not as financially literate, we thought, oh, credit, that's for rich people. It's not. It's
Mm-hmm.
for anybody who can swipe a card and say, hey, I've used this. Now I have to take this money out of my account and pay it back. Because, like I tell people, when you go to pay Gulf Power, you can use a credit card, because when you go to pay Gulf Power, you can, but not really. We can't say, hey, I'm gonna just give you $25 a month. You know what I'm saying? Like you do a credit
Mm-hmm.
card. So just get in the habit of saying, hey, I put it on this credit card first. I'm doing, like I tell people, you're killing a lot of birds with one stone. You're paying your bills on time because the company is going to pull their payment on time.
Mm-hmm.
You're building credit by doing your everyday purchases that you've been doing. And you're still staying in your financial means, because you're literally just saying the cash is here that I usually use, but I want credit. I want this 800. My score is 842. The highest you can have is 850. I don't do anything different than anybody else. I'm not in debt more than anybody else. I'm probably less in debt because I'm so financially frugal. But basically, one of my credit cards is on file with every company. And, point an example, I can't tell Florida Power and Lights, hey, I just want to pay you $25 a month for my light. No, I'm going to pay you this whatever it is, $18 a month. So you have that $218 set aside cash when you get paid. You see what I'm saying? We already have it set
Mm-hmm.
aside for the most part. Not saying,
Mm-hmm.
we never have to make partial payments, but you have the money to make the payment anyway, cash. So you put it on a card first. And the biggest thing with cards is get reward cards. And that's why a lot of people literally live off credit. Like me with my American Express. When I first signed up, they gave me, I forget how many bonus points. I literally, after the rewards, I got $1,000 Home Depot, because you can pick your gifts, a $1,000 Home Depot electronic gift card, some from Subway, which I gave to my son. Like I got over $1,600 rewards in, cards to use at different places. So still was paying whatever I used it for American Express to get the rewards, and then got all this stuff, these pluses off of it. And because I take my cash and I pay it right back off, I'm not paying interest rates. So it's credit first, cash last. It's just so many rewards to it. And it's not just for what we want, it's for what we need. COVID, perfect example. The world shut down. And I promise you, this is literally what I told my coworker before we packed up to go home. I said, girl, I have some money in the bank, but it wasn't even really about the money in the bank. I said, I have $179,000 in credit. I'm good. And it wasn't bragging, but it was the truth. Like, hey, I worked hard to get here. So now is this time when the world shut down and we didn't know our hours. You know what I'm saying? You know how many people got laid off. That was literally those two things. I got money in the bank and I got a lot of credit to fall back on if I need to pay my bills. That was my two thoughts on COVID. So just that financial pillow, like I tell people, financial freedom is a soft pillow to lay on at night. We spend a lot of money on BS. Invest in your credit. And I tell people credit first, cash last. Instead of pulling out your debit or your cash, pull your credit card out to get your gas, to get your food, all your bills. Everything I do is on credit, and I literally take that same cash and pay it right back off. So if I need to go and get a high loan, my score is there. You know what I'm saying? If something happens to my card, I need to go and get another card. The score is there. The credit is there because you can get cash advances on your credit card. So it's detrimental to have good credit. I will say that. Not just for wants, but for needs also.
Right. Definitely. So I know for me, I was so afraid of a credit card for so long. And I recently just got like literally my first credit card. And seriously, I know you'd be like, girl, at your age, yes, my first.
No, it's a lot of people like that. And it's fine because people are scared of credit. But after and it literally takes me during that consultation. Like I said, that consultation pretty much seals the deal for me, be it a referral for someone else or me repairing their credit. Because I break all that down. I'm like, you got to think about it. You're literally not doing anything different. You're putting one step in, which is using that credit card, and then you're going to take your cash and pay it right back. So I tell people, if you're not comfortable, start off with a small secured credit card. Get in the habit of something small. Put your Netflix on there. Pay it right. And when I say pay it right back off, give it about 3 weeks for it to report to your credit report. Pay it right back off. When they see how small one change is, and they see those scores do what it do, if they're financially responsible and they know, hey, I'm not going to mess this up, girl, those people, my clients, girl, I got another card. I have myself about 28 credit cards.
See, that scares
Probably
me.
about $197,000 in credit between major credit cards and store cards. Store cards being like Home Depot, Best Buy. I don't use every card every month. But like once every 3 months, I go and use one of those cards at least to keep them active and open. So for Best Buy, I might go in there once every 3 months and buy some headphones. Or if I don't have anything, I'll just go, to buy, I'll go get a gift card. So like somebody's birthday is coming up, something like that. That keeps all those cards on file. So it sounds like a lot of cards to maintain, but it's not, because it's literally just like cash. I don't spend what I don't have. And I think once people get that thought process of, it's there for me to use, but it doesn't mean I'm going to max it out and use it. Like when you start using that credit card and you pay it back on time, because payment history is the biggest chunk of your score, and you see those scores starting to move, you're going to be like, okay, let me go and get another one. And let me go and get another one and another one. Because 60% of credit repair is building a strong profile. It's not cleaning it up. That's only 40%. And I tell people, so 60% of what you want this score to do is on you, not me. I'm telling you how to do it, but I can't go and apply for cards for you. You actually building this profile, that's on you, not me. But I promise you, once I break it down, like about a credit card and Because most people think credit cards, I'm gonna be in debt, and I'm like, we're in debt
Mm-hmm.
every day.
Mm-hmm.
Every day we wake up and we owe somebody, be it a light bill, we got to put gas in our car, food, cell phone, rent, mortgage. We're in debt. Make it count for you.
When you
And
say
not
building a
bad
profile,
debt.
I know it, and that's what I was telling myself when I was applying for it. I was like, this is a good thing. This is something that
Yes.
is going to help you because for me, I really didn't. I know you say we all have debt, but I really didn't have debt. Like literally, the only thing I had was my car. And when I was looking at my credit report,
So when I
and
say
like,
debt, though, do you have bills like your cell phone bill,
yes,
car insurance?
yes,
So that debt, not so much a purchase, but like our monthly, that's debt. As long as we owe somebody, that's debt. You see what I'm saying? So for
mm-hmm.
me, all of my major credit cards are on file with a company. Gulf Power, ECUA, cell phone bill, car insurance, Hulu, Netflix, Apple Music. That's debt because we owe somebody that every month.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
That
That's
makes
debt,
sense.
not
That
debt
makes
of
sense.
a car, not an asset, but anything we owe somebody is debt.
Oh,
So
okay.
my
See,
debt
so
counts
that
for me.
that
You see what
makes
I'm
sense.
saying?
Yes.
And I
Now
tell
see
everybody,
that click.
everybody does with cash, I do with credit first, and I get the credit for it because again, cash and debit transactions are not recorded on a credit report.
Right. And like you
Because most
said,
people are like, what am I
your
going to spend a
income is
credit
just
card
sitting up.
on?
Yeah.
What am I
The
going to
cash
use?
is
Like you
yeah.
just said, I'm not in debt. Yes, man, we are.
Mm-hmm.
You are.
The
We
cash
are. As long as we owe
is
somebody,
sitting
we're
up.
in debt.
Yeah. So it's like your cash is sitting up, and then when the statement comes in, you just literally pulling what you already have set aside for that.
Paid.
Right. And it was just sitting there waiting for the statement to come in, and you just do. Okay.
And another thing about credit cards being on file with the company is if the payment is late, it's not on you. And like I tell people, because sometimes we forget stuff. Oh, I forgot to pay this. It's late. And you get a fee, a $35 fee, or you get a disconnect notice, or something, or you get a return, for your overdraft. If you put a card on file with the company, it's no longer on you. They can't report a late payment because if you put that card on file, they're going to pull their payment on time.
Correct.
So you're paying your bills on time, you're building your credit, and it also just relieves you saying, hey, I gotta go in and manually do this bill pay online. It's like seamless. Like my cards are on file with these companies for recurring charges, but I also lock all of my cards for any in-store purchases. So nobody can, or online purchases. All of my cards are only for recurring charges. They're locked for everything else, so nobody can use it. I'm not saying nobody, because hackers are hackers. But for the most part, nobody can do anything with my cards because they're locked. But the recurring charges, which are my bills, are approved. So it's seamless. Like I don't have to get on every ECUA, water bill, car insurance. It's all paid. It's taken out. And then when I get that bill, I sit down and transfer it to my bills and pay it off.
So in this, you saying how you educate and you help and you have these conversations with I'm gonna say most of your clientele is women, correct?
For the most part, I said probably 80. I'd say 90%. 90% is women. And even for the men, if it's their partner or spouse, they do their consultations and fix everything.
Okay. Well, that's usually how things go. But I know that out of that, you pretty much birthed your nonprofit. What's the name of your nonprofit?
Transitioning Through Trauma to Triumph. And it's advocating for domestic violence victims and survivors. I was a victim for 10 years and I'm a survivor. I've been out of it for 10 years. And the two tie together because basically I'm going to be offering financial literacy to my ladies in the support group that I, am going to host. I'm starting all of this in 2023. And my main goal is to get these financial literacy classes into underserved areas where they weren't taught financial literacy, because a lot of people stay in domestic violence relationships for money. Let's just be honest. A lot of people come out of a domestic violence relationship with nothing. So for a family, to know, hey, here's this financial literacy, you can come out of this and you can bounce back, because again, that was me. Now, financially, I came out okay because I didn't have a lot of debt, but I did spend a lot of money because a lot of things were broke up. And I spent a lot of money coming out of it to regroup and get back into my house and get me and my kids situated. I wasn't in debt with anything, but it did cost me a lot of money. But that goes back to financial literacy, saying, hey, it doesn't matter if the situation is good right now, you still put away for emergency.
Right.
So even in that situation, I was still mindful that, hey, anything could happen, because it was a messed up situation. So I still had those finances there. So I would like to, take that financial literacy and pour it into people, because it's not in the schools. It's not in the underserved areas. It's not taught to Black. I don't think it's taught to anybody, but I'm speaking on Black people. We weren't taught that. So I want to be that person, and because I'm literally that person. A lot of people look at me and think, oh, she's so well put together. Now, if you follow my social media, you'll know my story. But a lot of people that don't, they look and they're like, oh, she's so well put together. I think she's got it all together. How we just look at people and assume. And I'm like, no, I come from nothing. My mom left at 3. I've never had a mom. Dad kind of bounced us around. Never was in one place. I raised myself. I started having babies at 16. Domestic violence relationships. I lost a child. He was 14 years old. He died of a brain tumor. So I don't look like what I've been through, but I'm that person. I was on assisted living. You know what I'm saying? I was on WIC. I was on food stamps. You can do it. And I want to be that person to say, I was you guys. You know what I'm saying? And I also realize not everybody in those underserved areas want to be there. Like me, it was a stepping stone for me, when I stayed in income-based apartments. So I want to just kind of reach everybody. And so through this nonprofit, my goal for 2023 is to find sponsors, because a lot of these huge companies, billion-dollar companies, will sponsor classes. So I want to find some sponsors to say, hey, I want to get a group of 30 ladies, 50 ladies, even kids, you know what I'm saying, 16 to 18 in underserved schools, or even, not underserved schools. It needs to be taught in the schools, financial literacy. Like, kids don't know about saving, budgeting, how to start building credit. None of this is taught. We're just taught, go to school, then you go to college and you get a whole lot of debt, and you probably won't even use what you went to college for, but we're not going to tell you how to get out of debt. Figure it out on your own.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So that's how I'm going to tie the two in. And I'm constantly now networking and getting out in the community with smaller, my smaller drives I do myself. And my drives are pretty much based off of me getting on social media and saying, hey, I'm doing this, I need help. And people help and support probably 95% of the time, because I have that face card out there from my business. Like, hey, she's legit, she's good people, good face card. Let's help. So I'm pretty much just trying to use whatever platform I have to give back to the people, the little girl that I was, young lady, grown woman, that I needed along the way. So that's how I'm going to tie the two in. Financial literacy it'll never not be needed. And so I want to tie the two in that way. So I'm definitely excited about it. It's sad that nonprofit is even a thing, but domestic violence does exist. And I'll tell anybody, it's not just physical, it's mental, it's financial, it's sexual, it's spiritual, it's verbal. And, when I say that, a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, I was affected. Because, a lot of people think, oh, no, I wasn't beat. It wasn't physical, but it's not physical. It's not only physical.
Right.
So that's pretty much it in that. I love both of them, don't get me wrong. And like I tell people, my credit repair came out of prevention and perfection. Prevention when I was younger of not wanting to be this way when I got older, and perfecting mine along the way. This nonprofit comes from me being in it. Like, I was in it. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't anything I mastered or prevented. I was in it for 10 years. And I know it's, a touchy subject. I know a lot of people are judged by it. So I just want to be that support system or that resource to say, hey, I might not be big enough to help with this and that and this, but I know these resources, which is why I get out and network. And I get in rooms with bigger and better companies and crowds and thought processes, and we all know it's about who you know. So I'm using, my time and my networking to get help for others. And I love it. I actually do.
Well, I'm glad, because I know working in nonprofit, sometimes that surface just filling one void, but to be able to have other people like yourself who are willing to be, I always say, connectors. That's how I look at myself, as just being a connector, to say I like being able to connect people to resources. That brings me a lot of joy to know that at one point they didn't even know where to turn to, but I heard whatever their issue or the problem was, and I was able to connect them to the proper resource for that particular need. Because while with DV, you're dealing with all different types of violence, again, there are other reasons why people are staying in what they're staying in. And I know finance is one of the biggest reasons why people are in spaces that they're in. So it's like, the better the devil that I do know than the devil that I don't. Exactly. So you being able to give people an access, or just a safe little bridge to get from point A to point B is spectacular and appreciated. And just thankful to have you to be able to use your gift in a multitude of ways, because it's needed. It's definitely needed.
And
so in this portion,
the website is www.throughtraumatotriumph.com, and it's all kind of information, resources, donations, because yes, nonprofits do need donations. The donation button is there, but just always post my events of what, like the 2 families I sponsor for Christmas, just to kind of show people that, hey, I am out there in the community doing things. Hey, these are the resources, you know what I'm saying? And just a positive page, and for people to kind of connect. And social media, I haven't quite got it as big as I want to on Instagram. Now my credit page is good, TML Credit Consulting, full of jewels on Instagram. If anyone wants to follow. But Instagram,
definitely will. I'll put your
still building.
Yeah, I'll put your handles and also your website on the marketing flyer. So you all make sure that when you see those things, do me a favor, go and give her a follow. Make sure that you share the marketing flyers on your social media so that others can see, and that, if it's something that they've been looking to get into, or if you know of others who are always looking for positive outlets or foundations that they can donate or sponsor or give time to, please make sure that you do your part. Sometimes us just sharing information is the first step into someone else, again, being connected to a resource or being able to be a resource for someone else. So keep that in mind.
And I love what you're doing. We met at a networking, and the power of networking. Perfect example.
I know. So wait, because I'm going to call out some words, and I want you to just tell me off the top of the dome. So don't say networking, because that's one of the words.
Okay.
So here we go. And I just want you to just say whatever comes to mind. Women's empowerment.
You said don't say networking.
Yeah, you can say
promoting.
Okay.
Promoting other women's business.
Okay. Gatekeeping.
Not a good thing. Share, because your clients will come to you. What's meant for you is for you. Don't gatekeep.
Okay. Community engagement.
It's everything. Community engagement is everything. You meet so many resourceful people. Like you said, you connect the dots. You find the need and you find the resources all within the same environment.
Wealth.
It's not just a financial thing. It's a mindset. It is definitely a mindset. And it can be achieved. It definitely can be achieved. I am an example of it. It can be achieved.
Okay. Success.
It's what you view it as. It's not just money. I'll be the first to tell you. Health is wealth. Success is what makes you happy. The purpose you fulfill in life is, to me, what success means. Not a job, not a title, but the purpose you fulfill in life.
Okay. Networking.
It's everything. It is everything. And like I tell anybody, you never know who you're entertaining. And when you're networking, put yourself out there. Hey, this is why I do it. What do you do? Ask other people. Networking is everything. We will not know what you do and who you are if we don't network. It's so many people sitting on $1 million talents and businesses we know nothing about because they do not network.
Mentorship.
It's needed. Even with me, I have mentors. I have a marketing strategist mentor. I have a credit repair mentor. I have even for my domestic violence, I have a mentor, for my nonprofit. I'll sum it up to this. If you're the smartest one in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, Tara Lewis.
I almost teared up.
Don't do that. Look,
I'm surprised to a certain point at the woman I become, but I'm really not. Great mother, good person, just a motivation, an example that you really can do and become anything you want to if you choose to overcome obstacles and you want to apply the lessons. I'm pretty much that example of if you want it, you'll make a way. If you don't, you'll make excuses. I don't make excuses. I make a way. And I am that way. I'm not perfect by any means, but I am that girl that the statistics say shouldn't be here, shouldn't be successful. I never had a mom. I never had a stable home. I lost a child. He was 14 years old. I lost him to a brain tumor. Domestic violence. I was beat for 10 years. I had so many reasons to give up. It's literally give up, suicide, whatever. Somebody wants to say I had so many reasons to give up and I never did. And it doesn't mean I'm better than anybody. I just made better choices, better decisions, and I wanted better in my life. From day one. As a child, I always knew I wanted better than what I was around. And so I'm that change. And I will make a difference. I am making a difference and I will continue to make a difference. And that for me is success.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. As always, I just want to say, Tara, thank you so much again for accepting the invitation to come on to the podcast, To Whom It May Concerns Hood Professionals. To every one of my listeners out there, thank you for coming into the new year with me. And this is just the first step into maintaining that consistency, being motivated, being intentional, seeking out the purpose that is here for us, and really just being committed and faithful to that which we're called to do. As always, make sure you like, share, follow, comment, subscribe. Tell anybody who is somebody, who knows somebody, who wants to be somebody to tune in that they should be listening. And until next time, peace.
And good night.